Everybody, it's Sarah and it's Monday's New Hope, and today we're talking about coping mechanisms and coping mechanisms that work and which ones don't. And I think that we really have an underappreciation for that, and the fact that not all coping mechanisms work for everybody. A lot of times in psychiatry they'll throw you a list of things that you're supposed to do instead, or a list of coping skills, and they'll be like, why didn't you use them when they don't work? And I think that we are not in tune enough with the fact that finding coping skills that work is a very personal journey, the same way that recovery is. And it's one that takes tenacity, it's one that takes perseverance, it takes courage, and I think that you're to be commended for that. So, way to go for watching this video, or getting this far anyway. And I would love to share some that work for me. One of the things that I find really, really helpful is finding what makes you feel good. And I am totally, completely aware that you may have lost touch with that. It took me years to get back into touch with what makes me feel good. And that self-soothing, if you can do that for yourself, then you can make it through anything. And I think that that's a huge gift you can give to yourself, but it's also a gift you can give to others, because they don't have to worry about doing it for you. And they can always, count on the fact that you're going to be resilient enough to come back from it and not hurt yourself in the same way that you may have in the past. One of the things that I really, really find helpful is I love color. Color makes me very, very happy. I have an appreciation for every color, all colors. There's some mixtures I don't like very much, but it makes the world interesting, and it gives me something to look at and something to sort of absorb without having to think, and without having to judge, and without having to make a decision, or without any expectations or anything like that. And it's a true appreciation of the world's beauty, or a reflection of one of those dimensions. So one of the things I have in my apartment is I have tons and tons of color. I'm not really allowed to paint the walls, so they're white, but I have tons and tons of color. There are flowers, there are, there's signs, and just, my curtains are green, my chairs are pink, my table has stripes on it, my cat is orange, and, I have polka dots on my comforter, and all of that is just to remind me that, it's really, really amazing that we have such an interesting aspect to our life that is so simple and so beautiful that, that it also reminds me that it reflects me, and it reflects who I am, and it reflects on the things that are really, truly beautiful about me. And if that's a reflection of who I am, it's just so comforting to know that that beauty is in me. And, it's such a wonderful, I'm sorry, I'm getting very distracted, go away. It's just such a beautiful realization to know that there is something beautiful in me, and it's just really grounding and really quite a relief. One of the things I like to do is I like to put scrapbooks together, and not necessarily of photos, but of color, of shapes, of words, of just collages, that kind of thing, and I just look at them, and it just slows my world down and gives me time to be without having to think or decide or, make a decision or improve or judge, just basically be. And I do the same thing with motion. I will go for a walk and just concentrate on how my body's moving. I like to go for a swim that combines both the motion and the water. I love water. I find it very cleansing. and I find it just the coolness is refreshing, and that movement and the water just in swimming just makes it really, really, really soothing for me. Another thing is, smells. Smells can be quite a grounding factor. If you can find smells that you like because they remind you of memories that are good, or they ground you in something that you need, that can be very, very helpful as well. I have one of my nurses in psychiatry, for example, I had her perfume, and it smells so safe, and I can be having the worst of nightmares and just cry into my pillow and know that it's going to be okay. And a lot of times, I like the smell of pine because it reminds me of horseback riding and the chips that they lay the stalls with. I love the smell of chlorine for the same reason. The smell of grapefruit, for some reason, is very, very grounding for people who have trouble with dissociation. And there's just the smell of mint is just clean to me. And I don't generally like the smell of foods because food doesn't scream safety and reassurance to me, but I'm starting to get to some where I do like the smell just because they associate the smell with a really good taste. But yeah, basically really try to tap into your senses. That's what's going to make you feel good. The body is a wonderfully sensitive organ, like your skin is a wonderfully sensitive organ, so it's always going to find something to tell you, and if you can find something that's safe and slow and just grounding, then you won't feel bombarded by the world. And that's the feeling that you're chasing. That feeling of, oh, my heart is slowed down. Oh, I'm breathing, slowing down. I'm not flushed, I'm not sweaty, I'm not shaky. If this moment had to last forever, I could handle that. That's the feeling that you're chasing. And at some point, it'll feel basically like you're in the arms of safety. And that's the feeling that you're chasing. And you'll get there. And using your senses is a wonderful way to do it. Second main thing that I have found is an internal dialogue. You have a very defeating internal dialogue going on in your head. Whether you're aware of it or not, it's exceptionally self-defeating. And you can replace that with something not necessarily positive, because I think that's a huge ask, but I think something neutral. Like, oh, I don't deserve to eat. Well, everyone deserves to eat. Okay, everyone deserves to eat. Guess what? I'm part of everyone by default. So you counter the really, really self-defeating dialogue with neutral facts, with dialogue that is eventually very kind and very fair, and sometimes it can be contradictory. Like, you'll never hear your therapist say, oh yeah, no, you can gain weight because you can lose it later if you want to. You will not hear your therapist say that. It's contradictory. But to be honest, that's how I gained weight, was I knew that I could get rid of it later if I absolutely wanted to. I told myself I had to give it a fair shot, and that meant 5 years at least, and probably more. And in making that decision, I was able to buy myself the time that I needed. The same thing as a lot of people find it very helpful. I haven't found it's very helpful, just physiologically, because my body doesn't work this way. But if you're going to binge and purge, to push off the purge by 10 minutes, by 15 minutes, by 20 minutes, and just keep doing something until that 10, 20 minutes is up, and getting to the point where you no longer physiologically feel the need to purge. And while you may not mentally have gotten there, you've bought yourself enough time to get into safety. And I didn't find that work very well, but I know that some people have found it very helpful. And making certain things a non-option and just really, really identifying that as part of your core beliefs and reminding yourself that you want to live according to your core beliefs. So if that means no more wasting food by binging and purging, then it is less painful to endure the pain now than to wake up tomorrow knowing that you gave in to something that is not in keeping with your core beliefs. If you can live by your core beliefs and your core values, then you will be a content person. You may not be happy, but you'll be able to live with who you are. And that's very, very important. The last thing that I have found so helpful is goals. And having a set of goals that are not only, worth chasing and important to you, but they're tangible. And having a plan to get there. Because then in the darkest of moments, okay, yeah, tomorrow is going to suck because I have 3 exams and blah, 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 blah. But the next day, I'm going to be one more day closer to being a nurse, or to being a teacher, or to meeting the one I love, or to getting where I want to be in my job. There are so many different things that you need to include in your life outside of the eating disorder that eventually crowds your eating disorder out. And on the days that it doesn't, it at least reminds you of where you're going and how your eating disorder doesn't fit into that lifestyle anymore. So yeah, it's a bit long, a bit late, but hopefully you got something from that, and if you want to share, definitely feel free to, and I hope you have a great week. Thanks.